what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Writer's Block, powered by Creative Corner Co. My name is Noah Black, and today I've got, I say special guest all the time, but this one is like legitimately a special guest for a couple different reasons. But he's a songwriter, a virtuoso guitar player, a radio host, voice actor. You got it. You got a long list of stuff, right? But one of my favorite parts is your it's a current research obsession of mine to find a Lionel train that you were the voice of the conductor for. That's your
I
claim to
know.
fame right there. But he is most importantly of all those things, he's my friend and my father-in-law and the granddaddy to my child. So please welcome and give it up for Rick Scaff to the podcast real quick. Come on now.
Come on. Glad to be here, man. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I'm glad to talk to you because we've had such a great relationship. I'd say we have a pretty close relationship to a degree.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so
we were great friends before you became my son-in-law. So
yeah, yeah, it works out. That's why it's always weird to call you my father-in-law to people. It just
I know.
doesn't feel right.
I
But
know.
anyway, before we get into the music and a lot of that kind of stuff, I do want to talk about. I'm curious to know your perspective on our relationship, how we first met, that kind of stuff, before we even get into some of that stuff, because I always have my perspective of stuff, and I'm always intrigued by the other side of things too. So, what's your perspective on how we had first met in the first place?
Well, we first met at church, of course. You came in to play drums. And uh, I remember you just being very thankful that we had another drum player because we were short
Struggling.
on staff. And you came in and I remember thinking, oh, he's good. So that's going to be good because you can get I hate to talk bad about anybody, but you can get people that you know come in and they're not that great.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it right there. But I mean, you were good. I remember that thinking, oh, he's good. Okay, so that's going to work out.
Yeah.
I remember you being crazy, and just a lot of fun. Um, and we've always been like the worship team at church was always a big family, and so you fit right in there. I don't remember, however, as my daughter says, how she didn't like you at first. I don't remember that. She says she didn't like you at first because she
Yeah.
thought
She
you
said the word
talked
she
too
used
much
was,
or something, right?
yeah, I talked too much and was obnoxious. And I don't know that I can disagree with that too, totally.
Yeah, it's probably still true, but that's what we love about you.
That's right. That's right. It's crazy how the stuff that you don't like about somebody you end up loving, or vice versa. And so
Right.
that's what she ended up being in. So that being said, you fast forward, obviously, Carly and I are married now, but I feel like we can't have any sort of podcast episode with you and I without acknowledging the story of when I asked you if I could date Carly, because
Yeah.
it's so good and it's not anywhere near the typical what people would think, like you ask and the dad's sitting in a chair with a shotgun type of thing, like I'm gonna murder you. It was so
Well,
I'll you go ahead.
go
I'll
ahead.
tell my perspective in a second.
Okay, well, I will always, until the day that I die, I will always regret how I handled that, and not the way people are probably thinking right now.
Yeah.
I Because you came over, you asked
I
if you
texted
could
you
come
like,
over, and
yeah, I was like, because I was leading our worship team at the time. I was like, hey, I want to
right,
like get your ideas or like talk to you about some stuff for the future with the team, and just kind of left it there.
yeah, liar. And you came over and uh, you sat down and you just came out with it. And I really wish I had given you a hard time,
Yeah.
but I was genuinely, because um I had always thought that you and Carly were like such good friends, and you should have been dating,
Yeah.
eventually. But
Right.
but then you asked, so I'd like to, start dating your daughter. And I turned to my wife, Angie, and said, I knew it. I knew it. And I was like, yes, yes. And I will always regret not giving you a hard time and saying, I don't think that's a really good idea. And I really, looking back, I wish I had done that to you,
Yeah,
because that would have
yeah,
been so
it'd been
much
so
fun.
good. It's a and because what was funny was Carly knew because we had been texting and she knew that I was coming over, that I was, and we were going to be talking about it, and
Right.
so she's, I mean, I'm sure like biting nails, like waiting to hear from anything, and and what ended up working out, because you even said like, oh man, I should have, like, because you were
Yeah,
like so happy and stuff, and you were like, man, I really should have dug into you a little bit. And I was like, well, I mean, you can do that with Carly and just freak her out. And so then you like
that's
texted
right.
her,
I
and
did, didn't I? Yeah.
yeah, you were like, hey, we need to talk. That was it. That was all you said. And then she like calls you and you go, hey, so Noah's here, and he said he wants to date and blah blah blah. And what do you think about that? Like, sounded so like disappointed and condescending. It was you're like, and I said I was great with it. It's awesome. So
Yeah.
it
That's
was
great, man.
so
And
great.
I haven't been prouder since. So
Now,
you're a fantastic son-in-law and father to my granddaughter and a husband to my daughter. So, and we've still been able to, just be really good friends and buddies.
yeah,
We always kid around with each
yeah,
other. And also, I've always kind of pride myself on being able to, like, at work or anything, if someone is younger than I am,
mm,
but they are the leader. I've always prided myself on not taking their age as a negative,
right, yeah, yeah,
and feeling bad about somebody at work being my boss, but being
right,
younger. So
yeah,
when we were at church and you were the worship leader, in those moments, I found it easy to defer to you,
right,
to let you lead me. And there have been times when you have led me, not just in worship, but in pastoral care.
mm,
So but that all comes with respect,
yeah,
and you have to earn it, and you earned it. So
yeah,
so I never had any kind of problem um following.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but then we're able to flip that around, like,
yeah,
when you
100%,
come over to my house, you're my son-in-law, and
yeah,
and it's flipped around. So
yeah.
it's a weird dynamic, but we
It's
we pull it off pretty
yeah.
well, I
I
think.
was I was about to say the same thing. It is definitely it's very unique, and I don't know many people
Right,
that have a similar thing. But I agree with you, and I appreciate like all your kindness, and that's something that I appreciate in our personal relationship. How well
right,
we can navigate a lot, because I mean we've all, even as a family, like navigated weird stuff, and it's always just been it's easy to have the typical my in-laws and blah 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 blah. Like it's I've always loved
right.
our relationship and have been grateful that it has been the relationship that it is. But that's
Yeah.
all the sappy stuff. All right. We get the personal side of it for the people who listen who don't know. But diving into, talked about you as a songwriter, as a musician, as all these things, as well as in the past, your experience in radio hosting and all these like ventures that you've been a part of in your life. Kind of take me back to early on in your life of when you knew you wanted to play music, when you knew you kind of wanted to get into those creative avenues of your life. What kind of kick started that?
Well, what kind of kickstarted my broadcasting career was, I was a club DJ, and so I was very involved with music and, you know uh, playlists, and being able to transition, and being able to talk on the microphone. And that led into radio, where I was on a morning show, and I also did regular DJ shifts. And then I um, began producing commercials, producing, editing, writing. So that the editing portion helped me out, being able to, work with a digital editor. And this was back before you were born. that and that those editing machines were it would blow your mind what we used to have to do.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Oh, and before editing machines, I mean, we've used, tape and
Yeah.
razor blades and stuff,
Yeah.
and old grease pencils. So that really helped me out. And then when I started voicing commercials, that's when I was able to kind of develop my voice, my
Yeah.
speaking voice. And then, like you mentioned earlier, I did a lot of freelance voiceover as well.
Hmm.
So that has helped me tremendously in my live performances. So I do a lot of, I'm on the road a lot. I do a lot of live stuff, live
Yeah.
gigs at, bars and breweries and things like that.
Hmm.
And that, that helped me out with my live shows because it gave me confidence in front of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and also with radio too. Now, once my radio career ended because of the recession, um, that's when I started uh, really getting serious into worship music and playing
Right.
at church. And I had been also playing at certain retreats and things like that. I'd sung with the men's ensemble at a church as well. So that taught me um, harmonies,
Yeah.
because I was a baritone tenor. So sometimes I did tenor parts, sometimes I did baritone parts. And so each group of us men had to learn, bass, baritone, tenor, and soprano.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and that taught me about the different layers of melody and harmony. Um, and then I started getting serious about, even though I've played guitar since I was 18, I started getting serious right around then.
Right.
That
Yeah.
in the 2000s. Um, and then you know, building it up into more worship music. And then when I started going to our church, Propel Church, helped launch that church, being very involved with the worship team. And that got me into a regular routine of
Yeah.
always playing, where
Yeah.
before I was just intermittent
Yeah.
playing.
Right.
That got me very regular, and it brought out my songwriting a lot more
Mm.
because I was doing it very consistently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so that's when I started writing worship music. And for the longest time I couldn't write anything else
Right.
except for worship music, because I just couldn't. I don't know, every idea that came into my head was revolving around Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so um, after a while, that started branching out, where
Yeah.
I was able to see more.
Yeah.
Um, and then uh, about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now, right after COVID, is when I went to a bar somewhere. We were in Fort Myers, Florida, I believe.
Mm.
And there was a guy playing live there, and he was horrible. He was just really bad. And I remember saying to Angie, I was like, I can do better than that. I should do this. So that's when I decided to start doing live gigs.
Right.
Again, that consistency of always playing
Hmm.
branched out my songwriting again, and then it
Yeah.
just started exploding
Yeah.
from there. And now I've got a pretty decent library of songs now that I've been working on. Released an EP year and a half ago
Mm.
with your help, with Creative Corners help.
Yeah, yeah.
and planning on a full album at the end of this year.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. That's what we like to hear. Yeah, and yeah, like you said, we've been able to work together on you mentioned the EP burn and stuff like that, and like such a fun process. And it's, like you said, the consistency that goes into that, like how much that's been the biggest keyword in any successful, however you want to define successful, but somebody who's doing music well that I've heard of is always like consistency, because it just makes you better
Mhm.
at whatever it is that you're trying to do. And in that process of doing, like, working on your own songs and actually not just writing the songs in a bedroom and then you perform them live, which is great and it's awesome. What's that kind of been like to take these songs that you have ideas for, put them onto a project, and then release it to the public? How does that kind of change the perspective or whatever behind creating music?
Well, I've never really, ever since I started writing, either whether it's worship or it's secular music, I've never really done it, you know, like for profit's sake or for,
Right.
to try to hit it big or to try to get a record contract or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I just, I'm I'm decent, but I'm not that great at playing guitar or singing. But I feel my strength is in songwriting. I'm very good
Right.
at songwriting and writing stories.
Yeah.
Singing and guitar playing is getting better because I've been playing consistently now
Yeah.
all the time. And again, that consistency.
Yep.
Um, so I had a friend of ours, Andrew Simmons,
Hmm.
Drew. He's mixing stuff for me now.
Hmm.
And he asked me, he said, "Why are you doing this? Why? Tell me what the whole thing is." I was like, "Well, I kind of want to, you know, as you get older, you start thinking about, what am I leaving behind?
Yeah.
Are people going to remember me for what have I done that's
Yeah.
memorable?" And he said, "Oh, okay, legacy." I was like, yeah, perfect word,
Yeah. Yeah.
legacy." So what I do is legacy
Yeah.
for legacy's sake. It's not for um to see uh how many spins I can get or how many downloads I can get or
Yeah. Yeah.
or if I can make money at it or my live shows are what helps me make money,
Yeah.
and that's basically covers, you know
Yeah.
when I'm doing my own stuff, it's for legacy's sake. I just want
Yeah.
to leave something behind so that 50 years from now, when I'm gone, my granddaughter can, you know, play my music for her daughter,
Yeah. Yeah.
something like that. Say, this was your great grandfather did this.
Yeah.
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 Something like that. So
Yeah. That's awesome. And I like the what I think a lot of people miss sometimes too, because especially in the market that I guess I'm kind of in, there's very much a you create music for the sake of income, which I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that if that's your aim type of thing. I know for me, it's you create music, you ultimately you create it because you enjoy it and you write.
mhm,
For me, I write about experiences that are put to melody, put to song and stuff like that, but also just writing things to create a certain feeling or whatever for people. And then if money comes, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I do think what people lack, at least in my space, a lot of time is the creating something for it being something that's enjoyable, or there's a heart or an intention behind it. And it can be all how much money can I get off of this? And that's all I care about. And sometimes if you listen to those people's songs, you kind of can hear the lack of heart in it almost. And
right.
so to hear somebody from your perspective too, I think it's so key of, hey, I'm creating because I want to leave a legacy. And you feel that in the songs that you write. You can feel it and hear it. And whether it gets a million streams on Spotify or if it gets 160, it's still that, like, the legacy that it's leaving. You can feel it and it's a tangible thing. And I think that's something that would make people more proud in the long run that are creating is that, hey,
Yeah.
I'm proud of what I put out and stuff like that. So I think that's such a unique perspective, and I love that that's kind of where you're at with that.
Well, it comes with age too. You know, that's just the nature of it. I mean, you're still in your 20s and you've
Mhm.
got your whole life to go. So if you and not just you, but other
Yeah.
artists, you know, in their
Yeah.
20s, they, you know, few of them would be thinking about legacy. You
Yeah.
know, you're thinking about either, you know, how far can I go with this?
Yeah.
How good can I get? Can I make some money at it? Can I be a professional musician? Or you know, how much do I love it that I just want to do it, whether I
Yeah.
make money or not, for
Right.
as long as possible. And then
Yeah.
maybe one day when I'm, you know, if you're 25, maybe one day when I'm 40 years old, maybe I'll be at that point. You know, again, when you reach an older age, you start thinking about, you know, what I'm going to leave behind. But when you're
Yeah.
younger, you don't think about that. So
Yeah.
there is the age perspective there. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And on that side of things too, talking about your strength being in songwriting and stuff like that, it's kind of a two different answers that I with this question that I'm curious to know what your favorite song is that you've written. So first off, just because I know your answer will probably be something that's not out yet, so I want to like hear that. I want to hear that answer, but then also, what's your favorite song that you've written that is out to where people can hear it as well?
uh favorite song that is out right now is the one that I've gotten the best response of, and it's Tears from Her Eyes.
Yeah.
Um that I was really proud of that one, the structure of that song. Um and the story that it tells. Um, I'm a storyteller, so
Yeah.
all of my songs seem to take on a life of its own, and it, you know, goes into a story. And not a lot. I don't do a lot about me or my experiences.
Yeah.
That's where me and you differ a little bit. I know you do a
Yeah.
lot of your own experiences. Mine kind of take on a life of their own once I start that first
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
I never really go into a song um, saying, you know, I want to write about this or
Yeah.
that.
100%.
It's always somebody gives me a phrase or somebody gives me a line, or I find this good chord progression and a line pops in my head, and then I just take it to the next line and the next,
Yeah.
and it ends up turning into a story.
Yeah.
And that's how Tears from Her Eyes came about as well. And there's also a song that's going to be on my next album. This is my next to latest song. I've written one since this one, but it's called "The Road, the Crow, and Home."
Mm.
And it's as you probably know, I've got a lot of influence from Johnny Cash,
Yeah.
uh, and it's a talking story mostly. Uh,
Mm.
um, and it started um it started with something, I don't know what. It just had a few lines in it, and then it turned into a song about my dad.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he died about 34 years ago now. um and he wasn't the best father in the world, but he was my dad. And
Yeah.
it was rough to see him go.
Yeah.
So it was um and it was rough to see my mom go as well. So my mom's influence is in it a little bit as well. But it's a very emotional song. I've played it live a few times, and actually, you love this kind of reaction. I've actually had people cry from it. So
It's, I achieved what I was going for.
I have achieved my goal. I made someone cry. But yeah, it's a very emotional song, and it's going to be coming out on my album later on this year.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited to hear how all that's put together too. And so talking about that too, like the amount of shows that you do get into. I mean, I feel like you have out of the 7 days of the week, you have like 18 shows in a 7 day. That's what that's what it seems like. And so for you, kind of what's some key moments that you've had, like stuff like that, people being kind of emotionally connected to the stuff that you've written or whatever, like whether good, bad, funny, anything in between, what have been some key moments in performing live so much and at those shows?
Uh, it's never really a bad. I don't remember anything bad happening, like anybody throwing a beer bottle at me or anything like that.
Yet.
Um, and yet,
Your
but I
next
get,
show, your next show, I'm throwing a beer bottle at you. I
yeah, there you
figured
go.
that
I'm gonna have to put chicken wire in front of me.
out.
Um, but just all the compliments I get are great. I love it when I get it, a fair amount of people saying, thank you so much. I get a lot of you sound just like Johnny Cash type of thing, and that's that's an honor for me to hear that.
Yeah,
I don't ever take that for granted, and I don't brag about that or anything, but I've
yeah,
got
yeah,
a deeper voice,
yeah,
and so Johnny Cash was always a very big influence of mine. So I play a lot of Johnny Cash covers, and people
yeah.
seem to like it a lot. So I love it when people say that. I remember one of uh, my first gig at a place. I did Eric Clapton's "Wonderful Tonight," and
Mm,
it's one of those songs, and you'll know this. There are songs that are in your key, and there are songs that are not in your key, and you try to force it. So that song was in my key, and so I was able to do that good. And somebody came up after the show and said, "Thank you so much for playing that song. That was the song that we danced to at our wedding."
oh, that's cool.
And so it was very, and and that was my first gig, and that still sticks with me
Mm,
because you never know. And I've had it happen a few other times where you play a song and you just randomly chose this song to play in your set or whatever, and somebody says something like, "Thank you so much for that's my favorite song. Thank you
yeah,
so much for doing that. That brought back some memories or whatever." So
yeah,
I love that
yeah,
aspect of it, to have some kind of emotional connection with somebody because of some song that you just picked out at random just to
100%.
sing. And
Yeah,
that makes you think, you never, and it's like this with everything. You never know what you're how you're influencing somebody,
yeah,
by what you say or what you sing or what you write.
yeah, yeah.
So
100%. Yeah, and I think from the live show aspect too, sometimes people who are trying to get started in doing shows, whether it's, they're trying to do shows in order to promote their own music, or even if it's just, doing covers or stuff like that, they're just trying to put themselves out there. It can be, it can be super overwhelming to try and think of ways to ask or find the right people to say, hey, will you let me perform at such and such and all that kind of stuff. So for you, because I mean, there's a lot of communication that goes into that. And obviously you don't have a manager who's spending all day like, oh, we're gonna contact blah blah blah. Like you're having to do that.
right.
How from your perspective, somebody that's kind of looking to find ways to do that, how do you contact people to get the opportunity to go and play different places? And kind of, I know for you, people now will reach out to you to ask you to come to stuff too. So kind of that first step of putting yourself out there, how did you start doing that to where you're at a point where you are now?
Facebook, man. I I mean, Facebook is good and bad, but one good thing about Facebook is almost everybody's on it.
Hmm.
So that's how I still promote myself, the main way to promote myself. And what I've done is, well, I also run an open mic night at URE Brewing in Albemarle, North Carolina, every Wednesday night. by the way. Um, and but that helps me connect with musicians as well. So
Yeah.
if you are looking um, to start out, that's always a really good place to start out. Is there's a ton of open mic nights everywhere, and anybody will let you get up there. And all the hosts of open mic nights support the musicians very well. So it's a very easy way to get started, get connected, and you get connected with somebody who works at that bar, and then if you're good enough, you can get a gig. Once you get one gig, they start rolling in.
Yeah.
But what I've found myself doing more and more is, since I'm connected with all these musicians, I'm connected with them on Facebook as well. So I see where they're playing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
once I see where they're playing, then, because a lot of them are playing at places I've never heard of.
Right.
And that's how I started rolling.
Yeah.
Is, oh, they're playing there. Well, let me contact them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they're playing there. Okay, well, I'm going to contact them too.
Yeah.
So you find out where other people are playing, and then you contact that venue.
Yep.
And then the way you contact them is either message them, or there's always a contact email.
Hmm.
You set yourself a little blurb about yourself. Hi, my name is Rick Scaff. I'm a local musician out of Albemarle. I play this and that. I also do this. I host an open mic. I would love to play at your place. Can you tell me who to contact about that?
Yeah.
That type of thing. You set yourself up an online presence. Get yourself a YouTube page. Record yourself doing some songs. Put it up on your YouTube channel. When you do perform at a club, make sure you record them or have somebody record you. That
Yeah.
way you can put that up on YouTube. That way that's how a lot of bar owners are checking people out. I've had
Yeah.
a lot of them tell me that. Say, I've had a few of them. I've never talked to them before, and they
Right.
contact me because they say, "Hey, I love your stuff. So would you like to book a date?"
Yeah.
So online these days, online presence is everything.
Yeah.
So and persistence, man. Again, you just there are some people that I just contact like every couple of months, whether they reply back to me or not,
Right.
and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I'm still here. Would love to book." And eventually, they get tired of hearing from you,
Hmm.
and they'll reply back to you. And the way I got my first gig was just that. I sent out a lot of messages, and there was one place that didn't even want to hear me. Said, "Yeah, sure. Why don't you come out here on a Friday night? I
Yeah.
got this date. I'll pay you this much. Come on." And I'm like, "Okay, there's my first gig."
Yeah. That's
Boom.
awesome.
So that's how it kind of started, and that's how I keep it rolling too.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I love the like how super practical that is too. Cause like I said, for some people it can just be overwhelming of they just don't know. And so the practicals of that, it's a lot easier than I think people understand. I mean, that goes with a lot of things, I think, just in music in general, is
Hmm.
when it comes to recording or writing or stuff like that, because it may be something new or like kind of unmarked territory for people. It can seem like it's a lot more than what it is, and sometimes it's just getting into it and trying the little practicals and stuff like that. So I think that's super helpful.
I will say that now it's gotten very competitive. When
Mm,
I first started gigging, it was right after COVID. So,
right.
um, so the pickings were few and far between of musicians that were willing to go out
Yeah.
and get started back up.
Right.
So it was a little easier to get gigs. But now, if you had a list of all the local musicians in the Charlotte Mecklenburg metro area, out to Lake Norman, to Gastonia, to down to Fort Mill, Albemarle, where I am, out to Ashboro, and Salisbury, and that
Hmm.
whole circle right now. If you counted those musicians, it's well into the hundreds.
Oh
So
yeah.
there is a lot of competition out there now. So you have to do something to separate yourself.
Right.
And you have to be persistent,
Yeah.
and you have to create that online presence so that
Yeah.
people can see what you do.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game is if it's, you know, from your side of things, especially with finding shows and stuff like that, that's a big thing. But even in, I know where I am too, it's a big thing of if you're not putting out like something consistently and involving your music and stuff like that, there's a lot that you're missing out on, I think. And so
Mhm.
for the space where I kind of live at is wanting to create content around music to promote it, to get people that like would be interested in that style to listen to it and things like that. And I think it's just because everything within the entertainment creative field has just shifted to where online is your main like target thing. It used to be like I don't know what it was like back in the day, but I mean I know with you being in radio, like it was a big deal to like, hey, let me contact so and so to get to where maybe they'll play me on the radio station, or I'm gonna have to contact this management thing for maybe they're gonna put my ad in the paper, and it's just
Oh
like
yeah,
such a
man.
different thing now.
Back in the day, it was all about record companies. You know, you had to get
Yeah.
a record deal to get on the radio.
Yep.
It was few and far between. Like some local radio stations would have like a local music hour on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock or whatever,
Yeah.
and maybe you'd be lucky. You know, you put your put your music on a cassette tape and send it into the radio station,
What's a
and
cassette tape?
hope. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
And you know, so it was there just that was the only way, you know.
Yeah.
There was now it has opened up so much, you
Yeah.
know, with the digital age. Anybody can get out there and you know, anybody can put out music on Spotify or Apple Music or iTunes.
Yeah.
You know, there are procedures, you know, that you have to go to. I'm sure you probably talked about it on this show before, and
Mm.
you've educated me on that a lot too, on getting your music out there, getting it produced
Hmm.
well, um, and good, good enough quality to post it online
Yeah. Yeah.
to release it. But anybody can do it these days. You
Yeah.
know, it's if this had been around when I was your age, you know, I would have done this my whole life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would have
100%.
put out music my whole life. So
Yeah.
the age that you're growing up in right now is just it has opened up the creativity um of so many people. There are there's so much creativity out there that used to be stifled
Right. Yeah.
from from the process and the
Yeah.
technology,
100%.
or the lack of technology. And now the technology has been able to bring all of that out, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Love it.
Yeah. 100%. And some people kind of look at it as a negative of saying, well, now that anybody can do it, the space has become too oversaturated and there's too many people trying to put out music and blah 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 blah. And for me, I it could just be because I'm young. So I mean, you could chime in there and be like, "I just naive," but like I don't look at it as a negative. I think it's such a huge positive because now you get so many different perspectives and styles and stuff, and
Mhm.
like so easily now because people can post it and get connected and stuff like that. It's like you would have never imagined. Oh, there's this guy. I really like his style of music and stuff. He lives 20 miles down the road from me, type of thing, you know. And so then you're able to not only hear good music or find good music, but then you're able to connect with people and then end up building really good relationships or partnerships or collaborative, you know, endeavors and stuff like that. And so I just find it to be such a cool thing that we do live in the space that we do now. And so I don't air pessimistic on anything anyway, but I know a lot of people typically are like, it is oversaturated and I'm tired of seeing so many people making music. But I think it's such a cool thing now.
Well, I mean, I don't see it as a bad thing at all either. I mean, for people that have that criticism, you always you got to realize too that the cream always rises to the top.
Yeah.
So let as many people do it as possible, and there's going to be one or two that just start skyrocketing,
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift or Greta Van, um what is it, Greta Van what
Fleet.
Leap, yeah.
Yeah.
um
Led Zeppelin 2.0.
yeah, or whatever the act is that is gonna get that record deal and then
Yeah.
start being part of the pop culture and everything.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, the rest of us are building our relationships with each other,
Yeah.
getting better at what we do, enjoying each other's stuff. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
And if somebody's and if it's bad, don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Don't like it, don't listen to it. I mean, just like anything else, turn the channel.
Yeah.
You know, don't
100%.
criticize somebody for trying to be creative and trying to do their own thing. You
Yeah.
know, just because they like it. If you don't like it, pass it by. You
Yeah.
don't have to. You don't have to. You know, trash it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I think it may go back to, like you said earlier, it's kind of a competitive thing. And maybe that's the fear for people is like, oh, if there's
Mhm.
too many people, that's less of a likelihood that I'm going to make it or whatever. But then it's like, listen, if I mean you work hard enough, you put in the time and the hours and the consistency and try and find ways to advance yourself and become successful in whatever way that looks like for you, then inevitably it'll happen. And but it's, that time putting it into it and not worrying so much about where your peers are. Oh, this person has this better than me or more of this than me and stuff like that. It's like you got to look at it from a, are you enjoying the process and are you enjoying being able to make what you're making and creating what you're creating, and like that ultimately should be what it's about in the long run.
Right. And it's also, I mean, these days you've got to be technically aware. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say technically proficient
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the online process, or um, technically aware. And if you're not, and you're all about just the music, but you want to get your music out there, hook up with somebody,
Yeah.
who does know it,
Yeah.
you know, and say, hey, listen, I want to get my music out there. Can you handle the technical part of it? That's what's great
Yeah.
about keeping the community going and growing. Then if you want your music out there, again, go to an open mic, a
Yeah.
live night at a bar. You'll meet some musicians. A lot of musicians either know producers or people who will record you, or you got it's not just gonna come on its own. You've
Yeah.
got to work at it. You've got to dig into. You've got to embrace the way the world is now,
Yeah.
instead of
Pushing
instead
it
of
away.
pushing it away and being negative about it.
Yeah.
If you want what you want.
Yeah. 100%. And I think it's such a key thing that I've learned so far and still am learning and applying in different ways is finding people who are better at, or find the stuff you suck at and find somebody who's good at it. And
Right.
we acknowledge, I feel like I acknowledge them every episode. By God, I'll do it till the ends of the
Right.
earth if I have to. But our friend Andrew Simmons, who mixes your stuff, but he also mixes my stuff. And for the longest time, like I was like, I'm good at producing, I'm good at songwriting, I'm good at this side of blah 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 blah, but I suck at mixing and mastering. I just have never been good at it. And in earlier stuff, some people like the songs and it's cool, and I'm glad that they do. But earlier stuff, like pre 2022, a lot of the stuff just really wasn't good. Or I'd say even say pre 2023, but like a lot of stuff just wasn't that great because the mixing and mastering, I was spending a lot of time trying to be good at it, but it just always fell short. And so eventually I had to like find ways to search out the right fit and the right relationship with somebody. And it came across and connected with Andrew. And now I enjoy making music even more because I know, hey, I'm good at this, 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 and this, but these things that I suck at, I've got a guy who's really good at it. And so
Right.
now being able to have that, it makes it so much more fun of a process. And even now, like there's things that I'm not the best at. And so I'm trying to find ways to have them come in and stuff like that and help me get better at it. There's a friend of mine who's helping me with, for whatever reason in this stage of life, don't know why I used to be great at it, but I'm not great at writing bridges, like writing, I'm good at writing choruses and verses and stuff like that. Don't know
Yeah.
why I'm not good at writing bridges anymore, but I've got other writers, and specifically there's a couple that I have in kind of the crew that's like, oh, okay, I'll send them this thing. Like, hey, can you come up with a melody for a bridge here? Because I have no idea what to do. They'll send me back a melody. Cool. Okay. I got lyrics that I can put to that. And so it's stuff like that of having a circle of people who can kind of fill in and elevate where you're weak in. It makes it so much more fun of a process. So
Right. Yeah. I have trouble with bridges too, man. The yeah, I had a musician tell me one time, I'm not going to use the word, but the bridge is the B, you know. So- but
yeah.
you can imagine what the word is.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, I've always had trouble with it too, because you've got to find uh, we could go on and on about
Oh yeah.
how hard it is with the
Yeah.
bridge.
And dude,
But
and
sometimes you don't. I mean, since this is a, we're talking about songwriting. I mean, sometimes you don't need a bridge. Um,
100%
and sometimes the bridge is just something instrumental.
for
If you go
sure.
back, I I I like to listen to when a lot of times when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to the structure of the song.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So chorus, pre-chorus. There was a song, I can't remember which song it was, but it has like three pre-choruses and then a very short chorus.
Yeah.
So, and it's an old it's an old classic rock song, and it's just each one of the pre-choruses is a hook, basically.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you got a verse, you got a hook, you got another hook, you got a third hook, and then you've got this little bitty bridge, which is probably an instrumental.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no tried and true, formula for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need a bridge. Sometimes the bridge is the same chord progression as the verse or the
Hmm.
chorus.
Yeah.
Sometimes it runs down to the relative minor or whatever you're going to do, but um, I'm just saying there is no um, you don't always have to have a bridge, is
A
what
hundred
I'm saying.
percent. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And that's something too that it's you kind of find what works in a song and you figure out like, oh, this doesn't need this stereotypical pop formula type of thing. But yeah, I mean, like I know in processes I'll get to where I'm like, production wise, it's doing this, and it definitely needs a bridge section
Right.
vocally, but don't know what to put there. And so it's always funny that's because when I was in bands early on and in high school and going into college and stuff like that, I all like bridges were like a strong suit. Like I did great at it. And now it's just I'll struggle with it all the time. And so it's funny. If you I mean, this is a little tidbit into my stuff at least. If you listen to anything I've released in 2023 and 2024, I feel like 90% of the songs don't have bridges because I just did not do good at
Yeah,
writing.
just don't do it.
It's just like I'm just not worried about it. But it's funny how that works. But I
Yeah.
mean I like the song. So I mean it turned out good, I guess. But
Well, I mean, everything that you've progressed, and see, that's another thing. It's important. I think it's important to progress. You've got
100%.
to, um, keep trying stuff over and over again. And the way you're persistent with your releases, I mean, you're releasing like one every 2 weeks or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, that you can tell in your progression that uh, things are getting better and better and better. Your production value, your writing, everything just seems to be stepping up just a little bit each time.
Mhm.
Um, and I've found that in my live performances, my vocals have gotten a lot better
Yeah,
um, from just doing it
a
over and
lot.
over. It
Yeah.
used to be, man, when I first started, I wouldn't eat for the day that I had a gig. I wouldn't drink sodas. I would only drink water, which, that is what you're supposed to do and everything. But now I've eaten a burger and gotten up 2 minutes later and gotten up and sing, and my voice is great.
Yeah.
So if you do it long enough, whatever it is,
You
you're gonna
just
get better
conditioned
at it.
yourself.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah. This is all, I mean, we could go on for hours and hours about the little
Yeah.
tidbits and everything like that. But yet, like in closing, just out for this podcast, one of the things I like to ask anybody that's on, because I think there's such unique perspectives that everybody kind of carries, is for anybody that's listening that wants to take maybe it's their first step in music, songwriting, anything like that, or maybe it's just they want to take their next step and like really level up kind of where they are in music and stuff like that. What's some advice that you would give to those people?
Well, just keep trying, man. It just keep going. I mean, like I said, I do an open mic, and there's a guy that has come out before, and he's got such great potential. He's a really good guitar player, and I can tell his vocals would be really good if he just worked at it. And he played recently. He said, "Man, that's the first time I've picked up the guitar in 4 months." I'm like,
Wow.
man, pick it up, do it, just
Yeah.
keep doing it because you've got such great potential. It's I know it's hard with life and
Yeah.
everything, but if you set yourself aside 30 minutes or an hour to practice your craft, whatever it is. If it's producing, if it's, singing, if it's playing the drums, if it's, playing bass or whatever, playing guitar, whatever it is, just set yourself off some time every day to not just um, not just try to technically learn something, but have fun with it.
Yeah.
You know, I saw something from somebody that stuck with me, that said, when you're practicing guitar, don't forget to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, you can get caught in the, if you're learning on YouTube or whatever, caught in the, learning my chords and learning my scales and
Yeah. Yeah.
learning this or that. But, every once in a while, just, put all that away and just play,
Yeah.
have fun with it.
Yep.
Sometimes when I pick up the guitar, I'm picking it up for a purpose to actually learn a song, or I've got a chord progression in mind. I'm sitting down to write a song. Sometimes I'll pick it up and just play,
Yeah. Yeah.
have some fun. So, don't forget to do that. Have fun with it and be persistent.
Yeah.
Um, if it's live gigs, again, I can't recommend it more. Go out to an open mic. Again, they're all over the place, not just mine, but you know, that gets you in front of people, play 2 or 3 songs or play one song. Open mic hosts may be musicians who have done it for a while, but they are the reason why we do it is we support local artists. And by
Yeah.
supporting them, I'm going to let you do what you want to do. So,
Yeah.
and all open mic hosts are like that. So if it's
Yeah.
live, go to an open mic. If you're recording something, just perfect your craft, hook up with people, um, and get help. Don't try to do it all on your own if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so good. And I think that's all. It's as simple as it sounds. I mean, I think it's the simple stuff that people often forget, and it's
Yeah.
so
Don't make it
necessary.
hard.
Yeah.
Don't make it hard. It's, and also songwriting. A lot of people, I don't like songwriting courses, that will say, all right, get in your, what do you want to write about today? Do you want to write about this experience or that experience? Think about what you want to write about and then sit down and come up with the, first line. No, no, man. So many times in my songs, it's from somebody. just one sentence that somebody said just gets me going.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend say, just the other day, the cows were in the creek. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, when it's gonna be bad weather, cows go down into the creek, so they're out of the bad weather. I was like, I never knew that.
Yeah.
So like you can tell when bad weather's coming because the cows are in the creek.
Yeah.
So I wrote a song called "Cows Are in the Creek"
That's what I'm talking
about
about.
a tornado that comes through a town. So it's stuff like that. Just listen to words or phrases that pop in your head and just go with it. And
Yeah.
I don't like structure in songwriting. I just don't like that way of trying to get started. It just
Yeah.
seems too forced for me. Some people it might work for,
Yeah.
but to me it's too forced. I like the organic
Yeah.
route.
Just the flow of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super helpful. Well, man, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I know, I mean, we see each other all the time, and so it
Yeah.
feels very professional to look in a camera and say all that. But I do appreciate you for coming and hanging out with me, and the amount of insight and just wisdom that you've got. I know that it's helpful for
Really?
it's. I'd say you're. I was about to say you're wise in years, but I feel like that's a way of calling you old, and so I ain't trying to
Sure.
get on your bad side there.
Go ahead. I mean, I can't hide it.
You could
So
you could you could dye it a color. You could get it like lime green or something. I feel like that'd be
I
dope.
thought you were I thought you were going to say you could die at any time now. I was like, now that would be ages.
That would be ages. Oh my good. That's the way. That's the best way to wrap this up.
Yes, it is.
That's great right there. But yeah, thank you so much.
I'm just going to crawl
Yeah.
and die.
Oh man, I'm gonna end up on your daughter's bad side if I
Yeah.
jinx something just then. That's all I'm saying. I didn't speak that into existence, but
No, you're stuck with me for a while, brother.
yeah, good. I'll take it. But
All right.
yeah, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate you for talking to me, and we will continue to talk and all the stuff. But
Absolutely. My
podcast
pleasure.
wrap
Thank you
up.
so much for having me, man. It's an honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And all you guys out there who are listening or watching this podcast right now, thank you so much for checking it out. Be sure to stay connected with Rick and connect with him on Apple, Spotify, all the stuff and things that are there. You can check out his newest EP, Burn. Oh yeah, there you go. He's got it in the backdrop on YouTube. Connect with him there as well, Rick Scaff. And be sure you can stay connected with everything we're doing here at Creative Corner Co. for future podcasts, other sort of uploads that we have on the channel, as well as you can connect with anything else we have going on at creativecornercompany.com. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.